Hello and welcome to Monsterama. My name is Darin Bush. I am your moderator for another Zeroversary movie watch party panel. This year's theme, 2023, is It Came from the Ocean. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about what a Zeroversary movie watch party is in just a second. But first, I want to let our panelists introduce themselves. I'm going to pick on Jessa first. Jessa, would you please introduce yourself to our Monsterama audience?
Sure. I am Jessa Phillips. I am a geek, a podcaster, a blogger. Usually you can find me at conventions nearby the Atlanta area, or you can just find me at goodtobeageek.com.
Excellent. Thank you. And Laura, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Laura Walker. I'm also a geek. I've been going to conventions for about 10 years, and doing panels for the last 2 years, and I just love conventions.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura. And Anthony.
Hi, I'm Anthony. I'm a blurred, and I've been going to conventions for over 20 years, but I've only been doing panels the last 3. And I'm also a podcaster. We have a podcast called Fandom Hybrid. Go check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Excellent. Thank you. And I am still Darin M. Bush, sometimes known as the Professor. I am a track director at Monsterama for the media track. I'm also an Atlanta con runner, and I am the founder and executive producer of Tables of Content, which is a YouTube channel that is thinking about eventually turning into a virtual science fiction convention. The YouTube channel currently has a bunch of panels on it that are kind of similar to what we're about to do. So what are we about to do? A Zeroversary is a word that I made up that means that the anniversary of these films is going to end in 0. So for example, we've got a film that's 70 years old. We've got a film that's 20 years old. You get the idea. So what we're going to do is I want to explain the concept here very briefly, and then we'll actually get into what is probably going to be a very entertaining conversation, because it usually is. The idea is that we're going to take 3 movies, and we are going to talk about what we remember about them, what we know about them now on this panel. Let me let you know, we have done no homework. And if you're sitting there going, they did no homework, that's the point, actually. Bear with me a minute, you'll understand this. What we're going to do is once we've talked about these 3 movies, the 4 of us are then going to go off on our, on our own time, and we're going to watch these 3 movies. If anybody's seen one of them before, we're going to rewatch them. Me personally, I'm going to make a couple of notes for reference, because live at Monsterama on the weekend of the show, which is the 27th through the 29th of October, 2023, the website and the date are scrolling along at the bottom, or at least they should be on your view. And what we'll do is at Monsterama, we will have what's called the after panel for this, in which the 4 of us will talk about the 3 movies we watched, how much we didn't remember or didn't know about them, and we'll kind of do a little group discussion and review. That's really as complicated as it gets. What we're doing is we're putting this up on the YouTube channel for Monsterama. We want to invite everybody to participate. Watch this panel, watch the 3 movies, come to Monsterama, and come join us for that after discussion of these 3 movies again. And it is a whole heck of a lot of fun, and I promise you, monsters. As I said before, the theme this year is It Came from the Ocean. I take the list of movies that might be Monsterama related, and I kind of try and see if I can come up with a theme, and that's the theme for this year, which is good, because actually that sort of matches the theme for Monsterama this year, which is the Golden Voyage of Monsterama, being a reference to the Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Good news is, or bad news, depending on who you are, is that movie is not part of this, but it is something we will talk about at Monsterama in October. So this is the part where I try and shut up and let you guys get involved in the conversation. Here's the first question, which is, do you want me to give you all 3 of the movies at once, or do you want me to tell you what they are as we go along?
All at once.
Like all at once?
Sure.
Okay.
Why not?
All right, all at once. So here are the 3 Zeroversary movies in the theme It Came from the Ocean. The first one is Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which is 70 years old. The second movie on the list is Atlantis, Milo's Return. Yes, the Disney movie, which is 20 years old, but I promise it's got monsters in it. And then, this is not a classic, but unfortunately it might turn out to be one. We're going to do Sharknado, which is 10 years old this year, surprisingly enough. So again, let me run through that. It's Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, Atlantis Milo's Return, and Sharknado.
Beautiful.
So let's start with Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which again is 70 years old. This might be a quick discussion because let's start with the obvious question, which is how many of you have seen this movie? That's what I thought. Okay, so I got a big zero on there. I have heard of this movie, but I don't think I ever watched it. If I ever watched it, it was one of those films that like my dad made me watch on a weekend or whatever a very long time ago. I don't remember anything about it. Does anybody have any idea what's going on with this film?
No.
I'm
Oh
assuming it's
boy.
black and white.
Well, it's from 1953. It does appear to be black and white. It does appear to be one of those stop motion animation monsters. I've got Google Images up, and I am seeing what looks like something that is supposed to be a giant lizard walking between buildings and trying to eat cars and eat people.
So
So-
it sounds like a Godzilla clone. is what
It
sounds
definitely that is the right period of time. It definitely looks like a Godzilla clone. In fact, one of the Google images that comes up is Godzilla. It's not from that movie. It's from a Godzilla movie. So it must be somebody comparing the two films because it is right around the right time. Have you guys ever noticed that when somebody decides they're going to make a movie, that's every studio seems to make a copy of that movie? You guys ever notice that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes
think of
they come
any-
out the
Have
same
a
year.
theme.
Yeah, sometimes they come out the same year. Yeah.
Okay. Can you think of any
Like-
examples?
Deep Impact and what was the other one with Bruce Willis?
Armageddon.
Armageddon and Deep
Or
Impact.
around the same time also.
Yeah. So there's also The Abyss, Deep Star 6, and Leviathan, I think, all came out
Yeah.
in the same
Didn't
year.
Ants and
Ants
A
and Bug's
Bug's Life come out?
Yeah.
Like they very close to each other.
Yeah, yeah. So are you guys fans of the claymation Ray Harryhausen stop motion films?
Yeah. The Clash of the Titans is like the greatest movie ever. So yeah.
Greatest movie ever. Okay.
Yeah. Not the recent one that was pretty
Correct.
bad, but yeah.
Harry Hamlin.
Harry Hamlin, yes.
Yeah, oh yeah, with that weird robotic owl. It was made out of metal. So
I
I'm
grew
gonna
up watching the really old stop motion ones, like the Christmas ones, the Christmas stop motion.
yeah.
Yeah.
I remember those. I remember Rudolph and Frosty
Frosty.
was one of those too, wasn't he? He wasn't
Frosty,
animated. He was
For
He was-
lives.
the Little Drummer Boy was one.
Yep. So Laura, did you I was actually about to call on you. Did you grow up on these black and white stop motion monster movies also?
The first two parts, what you said, yes, monster movies, not those. Like, yeah, I
Okay.
found monster movies later, but not black and white stop motion. Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. So you have some experience with this. Did you go back later and watch any of these like 70-year-old monster movies?
Not. I'm about to.
You're about to. Good answer. Good answer. All right. Jessa, what about you? Are you a fan of the old school
Yeah,
monsters?
I mean, I enjoy them when I see them. I wouldn't say that I necessarily seek them out, but I have watched a few, particularly along the lines of like a Godzilla kaiju film. I actually have a DVD set of like 200 of like the early essential kaiju films. So there's a bunch of them on there.
Excellent. Excellent. Anthony, what about you?
Yeah, like I said, I like Clash of the Titans. I didn't necessarily grow up on them, but I think there was a period of time when the Sci-Fi Channel would show like old black and white movies, Saturday
Mhm.
afternoons or whatever, and I would watch them. Didn't know the names of them, but they were fairly entertaining to have in the background doing homework and stuff. So Yeah.
Yep.
I won't say I'm like a huge fan of them, but I know they exist and I've seen some of them.
Excellent. I'm really looking forward to this one. Now that I look at the Google images for it, and again, as I said, guys, we didn't do any homework, so I'm doing the homework now just to see what's going on here with this one. I'm wondering if this was a Mystery Science Theater episode because I think that's where I'm
Yeah, and I saw
remembering it
some of
from.
the. Yeah, I remember watching some of those too.
Yep. So if
Yeah.
this is a Mystery Science Theater 3000 victim, if you will, then I technically don't have a problem with you guys watching the MST3K version, but I would recommend going back and watching the original without the host and the bots making fun of it because it's a little distracting how much fun they have making fun of movies.
Now
The
I've seen the old Godzilla movies, so I'm curious to see how this compares to those.
yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time watching, Golden Voyage of Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, which that was one of my favorites as a kid was Eye of the Tiger. I don't remember why exactly, other than like the I think it was a Hindu god. Forgive me if I get that wrong. I think it's a Hindu god who had like 6 arms and each arm had a sword, and the swords were just going like this, while on the same frame, Sinbad's little sailor men are sitting there going ah, while the 6-armed goddess is swinging her 6 swords at them. It was as a kid that was just great. It was great stuff, and I always loved the idea that somebody would be willing to take the time to take a little, lizard Godzilla knockoff monster and move it a 30th of a second
Oh,
worth
yeah.
of movement and then go click and then go like and go click. That is some serious commitment to your art form.
Mm-hmm.
I would never be able to do that, but I just love the idea of it. So it's like it's one of those things where some people are like, well, it didn't age very well. I don't see it that way. I see this as an opportunity for kids to go, wait, I could do that.
Yeah, they still do those today, and they still like do fairly well.
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that. My daughter is an art student at a magnet fine art school, and she just texted me about a project that's stop motion that they have to do in her art class.
Really?
Yes, her video art class. They have to do a 2 to 3 minute stop motion video.
All right.
I was going to say, I
Go
feel
ahead.
like it's one of the few like art forms that I bet they probably have improved like over time, but there's only so much you can do for how much that technology would improve.
Yeah, I love watching the documentaries of the making of Wallace and Gromit films. It's amazing what they can do with the clay with one frame at a time. I'm not going to do the math and figure out how many shots 3 minutes is, but it's a lot.
Yeah, it's due in December, so she seemed pretty overwhelmed by it.
Yes.
Already.
So now what you can do, Anthony, is you can give her some inspiration by having her sit with you and watch The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
She's not going to do that.
But it's homework. It's for school.
Yeah, I'll give her 3 minutes, and she'll be like, "Okay, that's good."
Okay, all right, fair enough. So speaking of time restrictions, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to close the chapter on Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which is 70 years old. The four of us are definitely going to watch that one and enjoy the heck out of it, I'm sure. But also we invite you, the audience, to please watch this one with us and join us at Monsterama for the show, and we'll see what kind of weird comments we have about this classic old monster movie. All right, so the next film on the list, I could have sworn I heard Anthony snort or snicker when I mentioned this one, so I'm going to put him on the spot. This is the 20th anniversary of Atlantis, which technically is Atlantis 2, because for some strange reason they stopped numbering films. But this is Atlantis, the sequel, Milo's Return. Anthony, have you seen this film?
I may or may not have seen this one. I maybe. Are you trying to jog my memory?
Are you neither confirming nor denying?
I neither confirm nor deny that I am a fan of Atlantis at all. I will not confirm that. No. Or deny it.
Well, Or did I? Okay, this is not the right context to be like feeling ashamed of your nerdiness. It's perfectly okay. It's perfectly okay to embrace.
I might have seen it. Okay, it was 20 years ago. I might have seen it.
You might have seen it.
I might have seen it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, so confession time. I have a daughter in college also, and when she was younger, I would tell people that my daughter's Disney collection is really pretty well stocked, right? Like I would this is for my daughter. Yeah, right, exactly. No, they were for me.
Yeah.
She did not get to take them with her. She got to take some, but not all of them. I get to keep them. So anyway, Jessa, how about you? Do you remember Atlantis Milo's Return?
I never even knew it existed. I'm pretty sure I saw the first one. But no, I didn't realize Milo returned.
Laura, how about you?
So yes, maybe Milo's. I'm pretty sure I saw at least once, but Atlantis, I've seen that a handful of times. A lot of my
Okay.
friends love it. I was even a part of a Facebook group that had like some of the original creators of Atlantis in it, and it was like a meme posting group about Atlantis. So
Wow. That's
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. That's very cool. So if I'm counting correctly for Atlantis 2 Milo's Return, I think 2.5 of us have seen it. It's either 1.5 or 2.5. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Because we're all going to watch it now. Some of us are just going to pop it in the player and watch it again. So, Laura, tell us the premise of the first movie. Let's start with that.
Okay. The first movie, still having to remember, but so basically there's this kid. He's like supposed to be in I think in college, or no, he works at the steam. He works in the basement of this place, and he basically is trying to get these people to fund an expedition to find Atlantis, which was originally something that his, I believe, grandfather was trying to do.
Yep.
And he finally gets somebody to go with him, and he thinks it's just like they're just trying to find history and stuff like that, and they find it, and it's beautiful, and there's people that are still living there because of magic. And then the people with him basically end up, the whole reason that why they're there is to get like gold and dig up a bunch of their precious gems and stuff. And yeah.
Yep. So just to let everybody know, the first movie is more than 20 years old, so we're well out of the spoiler zone here. The Atlantis is this is kind of Disney's take on the old Jules Verne adventure stories, including 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and a bunch of other stuff. If anybody is sitting there going, how is this related to Monsterama? There's some really great monsters in this film. I think that in the first Atlantis, they had some breakthrough CG monsters. Even though a lot of the film is hand-drawn, classic Disney kind of hand-drawn, there's a lot of CG stuff, especially the big monster. I think it was just called the Kraken, but the Kraken was CG and it was beautiful. It was amazing. So, Anthony, I'm gonna put you on the spot here. What do you think you might remember about the second Atlantis movie, Milo's Return?
I remember them sledding down a mountain in snow, and that's all I remember. For real, I mean,
Okay.
20 years ago, man. Come on.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the fun of this.
I may have watched it once, with my nephew, who would have been, I think he would have been 10 or 11 at the time.
Right. Perfect
So,
age.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the first movie more?
Oh, I remember the first one. The first one was gorgeous.
Yeah.
I know it always turns up on the list of underappreciated Disney movies.
Yeah.
But it's one of the fun ones that I do remember.
Yeah. Do you remember the fireflies? The cave fireflies?
No, because when you say fireflies, I'm thinking of Princess Tiana. So,
No.
yeah, you say fireflies, and that's what I think of.
It's
For some reason, I remember like the elders and like a circle of people and magic and stuff. That's
Mm-hmm.
and Atlantis was in a bubble, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the really cool things about this interpretation of Atlantis was that everything that was involved was high tech, right? They had like mechanical dolphins with lasers, right? It wasn't mystical and magical, even though that was what the legend was. That was our
Mm-hmm.
interpretation of the legend of Atlantis. Was it was all magical, mystical. It was all very high tech. And so everything it's a great example of anything that's sufficiently technologically advanced is indistinguishable from magic. This is one of those really great examples of that. So
Yeah.
so I do remember that it's very steampunky, which Disney got on the steampunk bandwagon early, I thought, which was great. But also
Mhm.
it's very, very sci-fi.
Yeah. Like
'Cause
one of his crewmates, or one of the people that was with Milo, the little short guy who did all the engineering. I remember him very vividly.
Mole.
He was very steampunkish.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a very, very big steampunk vibe with this one. So Jessa, what do you remember? What stands out in your memory from either of these films?
Not a whole lot. I'm trying to think of who voiced Milo. I'm assuming that's the title character.
Was it Michael J. Fox?
Yeah, it was Michael J. Fox.
Michael J. Fox.
Okay, I wanted to say that, but then I was like, oh no, maybe it was Matt Damon. But I was torn between the two. But that's about all I know.
Okay.
It is animated and Michael J. Fox voices.
And I thought Michael J. Fox did a fabulous job of doing the voice acting on both these films. I think he was perfectly cast because he's just got that voice, and he knows he's got that voice and he can use it. So like there's this really great moment where he doesn't know what's going on, and the platinum blonde Atlantis woman who like becomes the girlfriend, spoilers, she removes part of her outfit, and he's like stammering and says the wrong thing and does a Freudian slip and is just embarrassed, and it's just perfectly acted and voiced. His voice breaks at the exact right moment. It's a great moment, and it's all Fox doing what he does well with that. He's just good casting. Almost all of the casting that I remember was fabulous. Like some really strong comedians were cast as some of the characters. Leonard Nimoy, hello. Let's see. We've got this old mystical magical guy who's hiding a secret from the rest of the universe. Is Nimoy available? Yeah, but yes, we must get Nimoy in there to play him.
I know we're gonna do the second one, but wasn't the first one like one of Jim Varney's last movies?
I think it might have been his last movie. Yeah, Jim Varney. Yeah, he passed away in between the production and the release. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
I think so. Well, we can. That's part of why we're having this discussion. We can find out and report back later. But yeah, no, I remember it was one of Varney's last.
Who voiced the woman, the girl, the love interest? Who voiced her?
I am drawing a blank. But I remember she was really good.
I just remember Michael J. Fox and Jim Varney. That's it.
Yeah.
But I know he was
So one of the things you'll find if you watch the film. Okay, so let me back up a second. If you're sitting there going, wait, I haven't seen the first one, or it's been 20 something years since I've seen the first one, there's nothing stopping you from seeing the first one and then seeing the second one. The second one might actually make more sense if you do that. So I'm not like saying you have to watch the first Atlantis, but I'm probably going to go back and watch the first one, then watch the second one, just to kind of make sure to remind myself of how that story arc goes. But one of the things I do remember about these movies is that they took some serious liberties with like what was possible. And so it got into that kind of like, it's supposed to be science fiction and steampunk, but really they get into some magical fantasy kind of stuff. And one of the things I remember very vividly, you were talking about the Milo's girlfriend casting. One of the things I remember her saying was that apparently the language of Atlantis is the root language of all other human languages. So people from Atlantis can understand any spoken language.
I remember that too.
That's not how anything works.
I don't know, sir. Did you take Latin in high school?
Well, but right, you look at the romantically languages, and you might not know exactly, but you can kind of pick up a little bit Italian, French.
Yeah.
But that's not what she was saying. She was saying she
I know.
understood,
All
right?
of them.
She's got
All
the
of
magic
them.
translator.
Yeah, like they were like Mole talked to them in French and they talked back in French.
Yeah, being able
Then,
to understand is also different than being able to speak.
yes, it is.
Yes,
Yes, it is. And being able to, like, okay, I did take Latin in high school, and the reason I took Latin in high school was so that I could work on my English vocabulary. I mean, I am a writer, so that made sense to me. And what you find is that just because you took a couple of years of Latin doesn't mean that any of that stuff automatically translates into something in English that just automatically happens. Like my ability to speak English didn't improve taking Latin. What did improve was my ability to go back and go, wait, what does that word really mean? Where did that word come from? Oh, that's from the Latin root for spaghetti sauce or whatever. Yeah, it's right. There's no way the Atlantans like just happen to have like pre-understood every human language when they've been underground for spoilers, when they've been underground for hundreds of years or thousands of years or whatever it was. Yeah, the movie takes some serious liberties.
They just
And
didn't tell you about like the injectable translator, some biome situation that happens.
yeah,
once you
they
cross
failed
the border.
they failed to mention that Atlantis gives off this energy field
Yeah,
that humans lost but have not rediscovered, that means that everybody speaks English.
exactly.
Like in a lot of science fiction where people will travel millions of miles across space and land on a planet and the natives go, "Hi, how are you doing? Did you want to have a burger?"
In that British
Well,
accent.
well, maybe they're
In a
all given.
British accent.
Well, maybe they're all given universal translators when they're kids, and this is
Maybe.
part of their culture.
Not always. That's part of the fun of the old sci-fi movies is going, "Wait, they know English? How do they know English?"
It's all really one ocean.
Well, okay. All right.
I mean, you did say it's technology, so it may have a basis in technology. I'm trying.
No, that was
Look,
a
if Jonathan
it
Brandeis can talk to a dolphin, they can speak whatever language they need to.
I don't remember if there were any dolphins in this movie or in the first Atlantis, but if there were, you would hope that they'd have like a conversation.
I caught that Sequest reference.
It was an accidental Sequest reference.
Sneak it in wherever you can.
I was thinking back to Flipper. I was like, "What's that, Flipper? Timmy stuck in the well?" Yeah. I mean, Flipper was just wet Lassie, guys. Let's be honest. All right, so Laura, any parting shots on the Atlantis movies before we move on to the next one?
I have one question because there's something I kind of remember about Milo's adventure or returning, whatever. Did they have kids?
Well,
I feel like I remember that. Was there more than 2 movies?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a third one.
Okay. I swear I remember them having kids. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't see. There are no children on the back of the DVD, so we'll have to watch it and find out. But that is a good question. Did they? It suddenly occurred to me, like, I didn't look at the box. Her name was Kida or something like that.
Kita.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know if Milo and Kida had kiddas, but we'll find out together and we will report back. All right, so from anybody, any last parting shots on Atlantis 2 Milo's Return before we move on to the next film?
I might be able to get Bailey to watch it with me. She might watch that. So
okay. All right. So Anthony.
Yeah.
So Anthony, your part of your homework is to report back on how much of these 3 films you were able to get your daughter to watch with you. I want to break down. Like, she lasted 4 minutes. She lasted 3 minutes. We watched the whole thing. I want a detailed report. And so does everybody else. We're all curious. Burning curiosity. Jesse, you had one last thing on this one?
The only other thing I know related to Atlantis is that there is an amazing cosplayer that does a cosplay of the Atlantan woman. I don't know her name. Kita, we think.
Yeah.
Cutie Pie Sensei. So if you don't follow her, please go follow her. She does amazing cosplay, and she happens to cosplay that character.
Alrighty. Excellent. So here's what we're going to do, guys. We're now going to talk about the third film on our list, which is Sharknado, which I am amazed is 10 years old. Yes. So I'm going to, one of these days we have to do something called Panel NATO or something, just do something completely wacky, do a crazy panel where we're all like, I don't know, on roller skates or something. So let's start with the obvious question, which is how many of the four of us have seen the film Sharknado? Okay, so Anthony was like, I don't want to go first, but I will. Okay, so half of the panel has seen Sharknado. So let me ask a question. And yes, snark alert. Jessa, Anthony, why did you watch this movie?
I love sci-fi B movies. So this was like right up my alley. I was already watching them for years beforehand. I've done plenty of panels on them. And this was like everything all rolled into one. It was, kitschy celebrities. It was disaster movie. It was monster movie, all rolled up into comedy greatness.
Comedy greatness. Okay, and Anthony, your excuse? I mean, reason?
Well, you like this reason. It was like the reverse situation with my daughter. She was 5. She's always been in the sharks. Like when she was an infant, the only way we could get her to calm down in the car was to play Open Water.
Wait. Open Water, the movie for adults about two people trapped in the ocean trying not to get eaten by sharks?
Yes. That was her from age 0 to about 4. That was her movie. And so she's always been in the sharks. She was the one that made us put a pallet on the floor, pop popcorn. We were going to watch Sharknado. And she was 5, and we watched it.
Did she like it?
Yes, she enjoyed it. We have seen every Sharknado since then.
So
Here's the thing. You kind of end up like rooting for the sharks. I mean,
you do.
Well, yeah.
Where else can you say that?
Ian Ziering is great. Like he was totally into it. You could tell he was in it, lock, stock, and barrel.
That's great.
Yes.
This is the part where I'm required to say that the panelists do not represent the opinion of Monsterama as it applies to parenting. Please use your own judgment with your 5-year-old child who's into sharks. And now we go back to our show. Thank you. No, Anthony, that's awesome. I don't want to put my daughter on the spot, but I'm going to anyway. Which is that she had the exact opposite reaction, which is I took her to the theater to see Finding Nemo. I was like, it's Disney Pixar. Nope. The screen, that giant screen, which was nothing but shark teeth for one particular scene with Bruce in it. Nope.
She wasn't sold on the friends, not food.
Nope. The song did not help. The support group meeting, she wasn't even in the theater at that point. I think I had her sitting on a concession stand, hugging her, going, "We don't have to go back. We're okay. We can leave." She didn't know. She's not
How
a fan
old was
of.
she?
Wow.
4. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. But like
It also came out in 2003.
Oh, there you go.
I'm not. First of all, Laura, stop looking stuff up.
No, Finding Nemo. It's not a part of this.
Finding Nemo is 20 years. No, it's Finding Nemo is 20.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it would have to be. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh my gosh. Yes, we'll add Finding Nemo to the watch party list. No, we won't. No. No. I don't think even I can get a big enough crowbar to put a Disney Pixar movie into Monsterama, although it is completely in the ocean.
And I mean, it has the sharks, but I feel like the main monster would be like the creepy kid with the braces.
Yes.
Tapping on that tank.
Yes. I would love it. I would love it if somebody like did a 20th anniversary fan film where she was 20 years older and she was like a serial killer or a
Oh my
slasher or something.
That would be great.
Again, my opinions are not the opinions of Monsterama as an organization. No, I think that would be funny if the climactic ending of the movie was that she finally, in order to escape from the authorities, she went to her uncle's dentistry office and was in there, and there's the tank, right, and there's the fish, and you kind of go, wait a minute, hold on, isn't the dentist from Finding Nemo?
Yeah,
Yes, it
that would
is.
be awesome. She still has braces.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. That's
That
pretty
would
good.
be scary.
So what's really interesting is that we're supposed to be talking about Sharknado, and somehow that got us on this crazy. You never know what's going to happen on these
It's all
panels.
related.
The thing I remember, like, I think I was, I don't want to use the word dying inside watching it, but I was laughing the whole time because the situation was completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Completely and utterly ridiculous.
100%. And you think it can't get more ridiculous, and then the next scene comes along.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
sure,
Oh,
let's
God.
go with it.
Well, I didn't watch it. I do remember like the culture like moment it had, because I am gonna apologize for making people feel old. I was in high school. I was a junior in high school when this came out. So like everyone in my high school was talking about Sharknado. I never saw it, but so it definitely had like an impact.
So Laura, did you have people like invite you to come watch it with them and that sort of thing?
I don't think so. I think I had marching band to do.
Oh yeah, okay. So marching band, good cover. No, I'm sorry, I can't go to Sharknado. Guess what my excuse is I did not want to watch it. So I haven't watched it. And so now I have painted myself into a Monsterama corner here, and now I'm going to get to watch it. Like what I remember hearing about this movie, and of course, Jess and Anthony, please don't confirm or deny because I want to watch it fresh. What I do remember is just the whole premise and concept was just so ridiculous that it made me go, wait, okay, so these guys have been watching like wacky weather YouTube channels, and they were like, oh, wait, if it can rain frogs, which is a true phenomenon, unfortunately. I think it's rained frogs and worms, and of course, hail is just
I feel like
horrific.
alligators got caught in like a tornado once or something.
I would not be surprised. But yeah, but I could just see these guys like getting ready to do a pitch in Hollywood to some producers and them going, all right, hold my beer. All right, here we go, guys. It has rained frogs. Here's the Wikipedia page. Here's some photographs. So what we're going to do is we're going to assume that a tornado, if it can pick up frogs, it can pick up sharks.
It's really Twister's fault.
I blame Helen
cow.
Hunt and Bill Paxton.
Hey, we can pick up a cow. Shark is nothing.
Like the scientific part of my brain has pre-ruined this movie because I'm sitting here going, like, how do they breathe in a tornado? How long are they in the tornado? Like, do they have to
picks up
eat
the
while they're in
water
the tornado?
too.
Well, they're technically they're like water spouts. They're really, yeah, they're.
Oh, they are. They're water. Okay, they're water spouts. All right.
Sure, yeah, I mean
That makes it better.
Once they make landfall, I mean,
Right. It's not just the sharks you got to worry about. The flooding happens too.
So, have you guys seen My Super Ex-Girlfriend?
yes.
Anybody?
Yes.
Okay, so Laura, for you, and for those of you who haven't seen it, the super ex-girlfriend throws a great white shark into the ex-boyfriend's bedroom, just right through the window of the apartment. And I'm sitting there going, okay, are those two movies in the same universe? Sharknado, super ex-girlfriend. It's like, did she create a Sharknado with her super breath or what?
It's her. She's the one that did it in the first place. She
started it.
Tornado.
It's not her fault.
Yeah. So Uma Thurman was unfortunately edited out of the first Sharknado and was never invited back. It's crazy. That's just weird.
She's the only one who wasn't.
Trust me, you guys are going to love it. It is hilarious.
I do know one person. I feel like she almost got more popular because she was in it. I think her name was Tara Reid.
Oh yeah, this was kind of a comeback for her.
Yeah, like it's the only
I mean,
I ever knew who she was, and then she
came
became
back. But
Tara Reid? Really?
Yeah, she's in it.
I just
Oh
recently
my
saw her
god.
in something.
Yes, she's in it.
This is actually a
Okay.
movie about family drama.
Really? Oh, well, I mean, you had me
Oh.
at sharks and a water spout, but family drama? Eh.
Well, they have to get something relatable in there.
Okay. So now here's something I do want to bring up that before we started officially recording the panel came up on the when I was double checking the date and Googling it. I'm like, wait, hold on. I really honestly thought this was an in the theater R-rated movie. Jessa, Anthony, I'm wrong, aren't I?
You are
Yes.
wrong.
Okay. Do you
Because
want
it
to
aired on Sci-Fi at a reasonable hour.
Right. So apparently, like, I'm sitting here going, of course this is an R-rated movie. It's got killer sharks in it.
It does
No?
have killer sharks, but
But like Jaws isn't R-rated.
But it's like the over-the-top, like, it's gone beyond
I
being
thought
like
Jaws was R-rated.
believable
Maybe.
horror.
Okay. I'm pretty sure Jaws was R-rated.
I'll look that up.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so just to say that again, you were
Yeah, what all of the violence and killing that happens, it's above realistic. Like, there's no way anybody believes that any of this could possibly be real.
I would have let my 5-year-old watch it if it was that bad.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah.
good. It's good to
But
clarify
then
Anthony,
again,
things like that.
then again, Jaws.
It's very
and-
clearly like CGI.
Yeah. But she was also watching Jaws in open water and all that too. So
Well, okay, if
I
your
mean-
5-year-old is into sharks, those are great shark movies. It's the I can't get past the 5-year-old being into sharks part, but that's not for me to judge.
No.
So this movie aired like during prime time on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah. And it was a big deal. Like they advertised it through the wazoo. It has
Back when there was
Ian's
appointment
earring.
television.
Right. And Tara Reid, it was
They spent a lot of money on that marketing. There were billboards, commercials on every network. It was something.
I bet.
It paid off though. So
Okay. So Laura, do you remember any of the marketing blitz? Or I mean, obviously you were talking about your classmates were talking about it. I do. I remember it being on TV advertised. It was advertised a lot.
Yeah, and then like YouTubers that I watched talked about it and stuff like that. So yeah, it was everywhere. Everyone thought it was ridiculous, so everyone watched it.
Yeah, it was some kind of crazy, like it's one of those things where it's so ridiculous you've got to go check it out and see just how ridiculous it is.
Yeah. You know what I'm curious to know how much money Sharknado made. Because I bet it's way more than it deserves.
because they greenlit number 2 real quick. They were like, it had just ended, and they were like, "Yes, we're coming back next year."
Yeah. And did somebody say there are how many of them?
5 or 6.
Yeah, there's
5
at
or
least.
6. So okay,
5 or 6, yeah.
because the last I heard, and this I'm not entirely changing the subject. The last I heard, they're making an 8th Tremors movie, which I was a big fan of Tremors, and it was a similar kind of like over the top premise, but like the actors and the writing and the dialogue was so good that and they were trying to be a B movie. They were trying to do a 1950s B movie, like Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. So they knew what they were doing, and so they quickly got a Tremors 2 and a Tremors 3 and I think they're making an 8th one. So is that
It did well
that
enough
kinda like,
that they released it in theaters, like after the fact.
yeah. Yep. So do you guys feel the same way about Sharknado, that like they were, is this a self-aware movie? Does it know
Yes.
how
Yes.
bad?
I would
That's
assume
part of the draw, especially
Yes.
when you get into the sequels.
Yeah.
From
Okay.
what I
All
know,
right.
they never
The
took
other people
themselves
like,
seriously.
this is ridiculous. Like, this is ridiculous. The other people, I don't understand why this is happening. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Laura,
Yeah.
what were you saying?
As far what I remember is it never took itself seriously.
No.
Okay. All right. There were, unfortunately, there have been a lot of really bad monster movies that have taken themselves too seriously. That just a little tiny bit of self-awareness probably would have improved them greatly. But Yeah, if they know what they're doing and the movie's self-aware, okay, I might enjoy it, but I just can't imagine that I'm going to.
I think that was part of the magic of casting Ian Ziering and Tara Reid together. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe Ian Ziering, he might take it a little seriously, but then you're like, and Tara Reid? No.
Tara Reid is very funny. She's a very funny actor. Does really like I
Oh
remember
no,
her on.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I think to put the two of them together to think that they would ever be like a serious, no.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, because wasn't she in Van Wilder?
Yes.
She was the love interest in Van Wilder. Did a great job having to play against Ryan Reynolds. She did a great job in Scrubs. She wasn't on the show for very long, but did a great job being the love interest there. So I am all right. Okay. Well, you guys might have talked me into it. All right. So having talked about these three films, let me just remind everybody it's The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, 70 years old. Atlantis Milo's Return. Yes, that Atlantis Milo's Return is 20 years old. And Sharknado is 10 and has 5 sequels, apparently. So I want to spend the last few minutes of the panel talking about, because the three of us have worked together on stuff before. I probably should have said this at the beginning, but by an amazing coincidence, the four of us are all part of my team on Monsterama for the media track, and also we're also helping out with a couple of other tracks. So this is like almost like a Monsterama staff meeting, which is great. I didn't do it on purpose. It was a coincidence, but if you are running around Monsterama and you hear someone say, "What did Darin do now?" It might be one of these three people. It might. But we've known for a while that Sinbad was the theme this year for Monsterama. I picked It Came from the Ocean as the theme for this movie watch party on purpose. So I'm going to start with Jessa because I know she's going to have answers to this question. What other movies, just don't worry about the anniversary years, what other movies would you have wanted to include in this panel if we had room and time? What jumps out at you as a It Came from the Ocean movie?
The Abyss is always my number one. It is one of my favorite movies.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely would go in there. I would say The Thing, but we talked about that last year. But
Which
Creature
one?
from the Black Lagoon. We talked about The Thing last year.
Oh, okay. I wouldn't consider that an ocean one, but it's interesting that you mentioned that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, it's in the ice.
It's in the ice. It's in the frozen ocean.
Right.
What was the third one?
Creature from the Black Lagoon or Swamp Thing. Nobody talks about Swamp Thing anymore, and that's such a shame. Unless you're on the comics track, lots of talking comics. But I think a lot of people forget about Swamp Thing, and it even had a pretty decent television series a few years ago.
Yeah.
If anybody had DC.
I appreciate the fact, Jessa, that you are really stretching the definition of the word ocean. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying.
I went with water. Look, I started with the Abyss. Right?
No, that is definitely the ocean. And by the way, Jessa, brownie points for starting with the Abyss because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. Love that movie.
So good.
It's so It's need to go back and rewatch it again. Okay, so now Anthony, it's your turn. When I say It Came from the Ocean movies, what pops up as something you wish we had time to cover?
Well, she stole Abyss. That's like one of my favorites. The Abyss. Leviathan.
Really?
Deep Star 6.
So basically, all three ocean movies from that same year is what you're saying.
There was a movie called Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the ones that immediately come to mind.
Okay. Laura, what about you? Did Jessa or Anthony leave you any movies to mention?
I mean, ones that I would talk about are the ones that everyone knows, like Jaws, The Meg. The Meg, especially, because it's kind of ridiculous, but
yeah. My biggest problem with the Meg movies is they're doing this thing where they're giving away some of the jokes and surprises from the movie in the trailer. Like, I don't need to like there's this one character who says, "Oh, this thing is shark proof," and then the shark eats her. I'm not giving anything away. It's in the trailer. And so now I know going in, if I ever see this movie, which apparently the three of you are going to trick me into watching this movie at some point. If I ever go and watch Meg 2, The Trench, as soon as she comes up on screen, I'm going to go, we don't have to pay attention to anything she says. She's irrelevant.
Maybe
I'm like,
she's a character that dies in the first 5 minutes.
that would make me feel a little bit better. That would be a great solution. But
that's what you get for giving away the good parts.
yeah. And Jaws absolutely is the pinnacle of I don't want to go swimming movies. I mean, really, like that movie scared an entire generation. It had a profound impact. Now, the really funny thing about Jaws is that Peter Benchley's book that the movie was based off of was actually pretty scientifically good. Like Peter Benchley knows what he's talking about. His nonfiction works on the ocean are just amazing. They're worth listening to the audiobooks, worth reading. But like when they made the movie Jaws, the shark, I don't remember how long the shark was in the book, but the shark in the movie is like much, 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 much bigger than the largest great white shark we've ever recorded. So the fact that it was as big as it was part of like the fantasy elements of Jaws, but still a big shark. It's still scary. It's just, it's even though that movie is, even though the technology behind that movie is a little outdated, such a great story.
Well, what about you, Darin? What movies do you think of? I mean, you've got the master list over there, but
I am not. No, I don't have
looking.
Thank you. Thank you, Jessa. I'll punish you later. Jaws is one of my favorite movies. The Abyss is absolutely one of my favorite movies of all time. One of the reasons why The Abyss has a special place in my heart is that the novelization of the movie is exactly the same as the movie. It has more stuff in it, but what is in the movie is exactly the same as what's in the book because the author was there watching them make the movie and got to talk to everybody about what was going on. So all that kind of in their head motivation stuff going on in the book is coming from the actors who made the film, which is just amazing. It's a great accomplishment. But if you're talking about underwater movies, I don't know, like Pacific Rim is adjacent to this. One of the things I like about Pacific Rim is they kind of like, they took the alien invasion thing and they put it in a really unusual location, which was actually pretty smart because the fact that it was at the bottom of one of the deepest parts of the ocean made it like really complicated for us for humans to figure out what was going on. You know, because if a portal opened above Mega Tokyo and a thing fell out of the sky through this portal, it's pretty obvious what's going on. But they kind of sneak up on you from under the ocean. So Pacific Rim, I think counts as that. I love that movie. It's so much fun.
There's an option.
If you're gonna go there, then I would have said Cloverfield because that monster came out of the ocean as well.
Which the great thing about Cloverfield is that there's some debate about that because there's that little bit at the very end where you see something fall out of the sky and splash into the ocean. So it's debatable.
Portal.
And then I was surprised that nobody said sphere, but that's kind of in the same boat.
Well, no, I wasn't gonna say sphere.
I mean, why not? It totally plays on the classic. You even get the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea in there. Like, come on.
I'm sorry, but I love Michael Crichton, but that movie, so much talent, and they wasted it. It's just not. I did not like that movie.
They can't all be hits.
Yeah, but also, I really we talked about this already. I enjoy Finding Nemo and Finding Dory because they really do an excellent job of doing their homework. They're I think everything they did is a real fish or a real undersea something. It's all accurate. They went to a lot of trouble to make everything look realistic, the coral, the sharks, the everything. So to me, Finding Nemo and Finding Dory are almost like a live action film starring fish.
Yeah.
And they did some beautiful, beautiful stuff with that. So I really like that one. That one's definitely in the ocean.
No Little Mermaid?
Which one?
Wait, who was the monster in Little Mermaid?
Ursula. No. There's the thing with Little Mermaid is it isn't that hard to turn it around to where Ursula is not really actually the bad guy, that King Triton is really the bad guy.
You can make a Wicked out of Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to. But yeah, but like the Little Mermaid is one of those movies where the kids are like, "Yay, singing crab," and the adults are going, "This movie is really messed up." Like there's child abuse and just the whole thing where she doesn't
Right.
have a voice.
Yeah, and it's
Like
like,
Like she
that
gave
doesn't
it up.
matter. The whole
Oh.
idea that you don't need your voice to get a guy,
yeah,
because that's not important.
yeah. I've had several female nerds explain to me that that's a terrible message for little girls. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, all right.
That's why 16-year-olds aren't allowed to do contract negotiations.
Thank goodness.
Thank God.
Oh, thank goodness. 16-year-old contract negotiations. There's a bad movie there waiting to happen. Speaking of Sharknado, no, it's there's a bunch of YouTube stuff going on right now that's in the kind of the cosmic horror vein, where I accidentally ran across a whole slew of videos with titles like "Why People Are Scared of the Deep Ocean," why the ocean still scares us and everything. And these are people talking about like psychology and our evolution as primates, et cetera, and they always go back to like things that have washed up on the beach from the deep, deep ocean before we got down there. The story of the first bathysphere that went down really deep and saw some stuff that these guys like reported, and everybody thought they were just hallucinating because they just saw the weirdest fish ever. But years later, we proved that what they saw were real fish, even though they were nuts. So there's something about the ocean. There's something about like rivers and lakes don't do this to us. The ocean is one of those things where how deep is the water where I'm at right this moment?
Right. Something about that unattainable unknown, but it can get you.
Yeah.
We might not be able to get down there, but
it can come up to us. Yeah. One of the things that I do want to throw out here before we start doing what I call paying the bills, wrapping this up. One thing I do want to say, and I hope that this has changed, but last I heard, we still don't know where great white sharks make baby great white sharks. Apparently, their reproductive patterns are still kind of a mystery. The most obvious explanation is that their mating stuff happens so deep that we just can't. We're just not able to keep track of them where they're mating is because they're mating anyway. So that's a very inside out way of me saying we're still working on figuring out great white sharks, which are, they're big. They're not that hard to spot, but the ocean is
they just had
really
a
vast.
similar thing recently with sperm whales. Like nobody had really actually seen sperm whales give birth until recently, I guess because they're just so aware. And normally they're on the bottom of the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. There is something really primal and important to our fear of the ocean, and I think part of it is that we do not like being snuck up on. And I'm hoping there will be some of that in these movies, and we will get to talk about that part of being afraid of the ocean and the things in the ocean. All right, guys. So we are getting close to an hour of actual panel. So what I want to do is I want to let the three of you remind our Monsterama audience who you are and how they can track you down. And I'm going to start this time with Laura.
I'm Laura. Someone that loves conventions, and you can find me at conventions.
Excellent, especially Monsterama, where she's going to be helping me out with stuff, especially the second half of this panel. Anthony, how about you?
You can find me at fandomhybridpodcast.com.
Excellent. Jessa?
You can find me at goodtobeageek.com.
Excellent. And I'm still Darin M. Bush, the professor. My YouTube channel is Tables of Content, but I will be at Monsterama this year, and we will be doing the after panel of It Came from the Ocean. So let me just sum up by reminding everybody what we're talking about, which is that the four of us are going to go off and watch these three movies. We're going to do an after panel at the live show, and we're going to talk about these 3 movies with a little bit more information and knowledge than we just tried to do. And again, those 3 movies are Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, say that 5 times fast, which is 70 years old, Atlantis, Milo's Return, which is 20 years old, and Sharknado, which is already 10 years old, believe it or not. So this is the part where I ask our panelists to wave goodbye to the Monsterama audience. Thank you, everybody. See you there.